simply talking about, having a president, having a government that is making Americans their top and number one priority. And that includes our men and women in uniform. That includes our men and women who are our first responders in this
And so we need the veterans to speak out. We need them to be the voices in their community.
Hi everybody, this is Vlad Lemitz with Veterans for America First. I wanted to welcome everybody to a very special interview that we have arranged. Together today with Julio, I have with us Trevor Loudon. And Trevor Loudon is a published author from New Zealand who now resides in US, who written a lot of things about what we're dealing with as far as communist takeover and hijacking of American culture and society, and quite frankly, their attempts to take over the world, which is what's happening in many different facets in many different countries. And even within our own administration here, we've seen a lot of influence from the communist CCP China. So I'm going to let Trevor introduce himself real quick, and we'll take it from there.
Well, thanks very much, Vlad, and good to see you, and good to see you, Julio. Well, I'm Trevor Loudon. I'm from Christchurch, New Zealand originally, but I've lived in the States for the last few years. And my specialty is communism, exposing communism, identifying it, how it works in the Democratic Party, how it works through the unions and academia. And, my thesis is we are in a revolution here, right in America now. And we are under attack by the CCP, the Communist Party of Cuba, and other bad actors. And we have got a very limited amount of time to turn this around. Otherwise, we will be gone as a free country.
Well, actually, Trevor, let me ask you a question. What do you mean when you say we have very limited time?
Well, I think the Chinese military is getting ready for war now. And I think that could happen at any time. And unfortunately, the Biden administration and the Obama administration before that did the very best they could to gut the US military. President Trump did many corrective measures, but Biden has undone most of those. While the Chinese military is building up its navy like crazy, Biden wants to cut our navy. Biden is driving good officers out of the military. Biden is purging people and encouraging leftists to join the military. So, the Communist Party of China is getting ready for world domination, and America is getting ready to lose in their current pattern. So we have to win back political power, restore the military real darn quick, because we're losing all our allies right now, and China's on the march, and we have to take that very seriously.
Well, this is actually everything that we have heard in so many ways about what is happening. Here's a question real quick. At the same time as we see China's buildup, what do you feel is happening with United States military? Why are you saying we're getting ready to lose?
Well, it's being purged. Obama purged roughly 200 good generals and admirals from the military and replaced them with people like General Milley,
Right.
like Princeton sociology graduates instead of real war fighters. Biden, with his political correctness and his vaccine mandates, has been purging every patriot, every conservative, every Republican, every Christian he possibly can from the military. They're being replaced by illegal aliens. They're being replaced by transgenders, being replaced by left-wing sociology graduates, etc. The military is going woke, and woke is a euphemism for Marxist. So it's like when Hitler attacked the Soviet Union in World War II. The Soviet Red Army almost collapsed because Stalin had purged most of the good officers out of the Red Army. Well, that's exactly what's happening to the US military now. The good officers are leaving, are being driven out. The good people are going, the good leaders are going. We've got politically correct leaders now who are more worried about global warming than they are about fighting a war, more worried about gender equity than actually building up a fighting force. And so while China is purging girly men from their society right now in preparation for war, America is encouraging the same thing in our military. I joke that the Chinese military is getting ready for war, the American military is getting ready for mascara. And that's a pretty serious situation.
And unfortunately, I have to say that we have seen that happen. And thank you for bringing up the entire transgender issue, because I've written about this in 2017. 2017, 2018, I've written about this, and I said the entire issue, aside from you trying to bring transgenders in the military, whether a right or wrong thing to do, and how we accept those people in the society, it is a logistical nightmare, because essentially this personnel are non-deployable. Plus, it's also a drag on the morale for your average patriotic American joining the military. So you're definitely onto something here. Now, at the same time, we are seeing that our relationship with Russia is slowly deteriorating. Now, one thing that I know is obviously that Russia and China have been working together for a while, and that's not a good thing. But I do strongly believe we had a chance to repair relationship and actually have an opportunity to work with Russia more closely under a conservative administration, because what we're seeing now is a relationship between those two countries deteriorating, and it sort of is pushing Russia further into working with China, and we're kind of creating a monster in that regard that is going to be really hard to take on. And as you said, we are seeing our nation being slowly dismantled, not only in the military, but also at the border. So essentially speaking, in unrestricted warfare, they have compared United States to like an onion with many layers and facets of society. And they said United States is very hard to take over from without, layer by layer. But if we make the onion rot figuratively from within, we weaken the military, we weaken, the morale of the inner cities, we weaken their borders, then essentially this country is going to become much easier to, sabotage and take over.
Yep.
One thing specifically that we have done this year, we have organized 2 trips to the border in McAllen, Texas. One of the trips we organized together with Latinos for America First, led by Bianca Gracia. And during that trip, we have donated, jointly over 800 meals to Border Patrol agents.
Great.
So we're trying to show them our appreciation. And at the same time, the very next trip, we tried to repeat shortly after. They changed the rules, and they told us that Border Patrol agents are not allowed to receive anything from members of the public, even so much so as a bottle of water. So we changed our plans slightly and said, okay, if you're not going to allow us to do that, at the very least, we need to bring awareness of what is happening at the border. And here really is what is happening at the border. And by the way, we're going to insert some pictures of the border wall here, as well as some footage of what we have witnessed, okay? But because of the whole unnecessary COVID-19 vaccine mandates, they're not only pushing out people from the military, trying to weaken our military, saying, if you don't take this vaccine, here's, and by the way, we have veterans who have been in the military for 12, 16, 18 years, approaching their retirement, and they're told, if you don't take vaccine, we're going to push you out. And of course, a lot of other people knowing what kind of health issues some of the people have developed with vaccines don't want to take it. They don't trust it.
Yeah.
So we have people losing their jobs, losing their, and not just their jobs, losing their careers, entire lives, retirements, just gone away because a lot of them would not comply with this unconstitutional mandate. But in the military, quite frankly, you don't really have a choice other than just, hey, you walk away and leave everything behind, but just obeying a direct order. The same thing has been happening in border patrol agents. And that's what we decided, that since we cannot donate meals to them, we can raise awareness. So we brought 2,000 politicians to the border the second time around, and we have about 100 people over there altogether, and we have locked arms from one side of the wall to another to form a human wall, finishing the wall where it was stopped.
Right, I saw that, yes.
Right, and that was very interesting because we were trying to bring awareness that, hey, there are big gaps in the wall, and we are discharging our border patrol agents by the thousands. And for those who don't know, it's not like you could just pick up a border patrol agent and say, hey, you're hired, here's a new one. No, it's almost a year training and then another year in the field before these people could be replaced, okay? And we're losing a grip of our southern border. And a lot of people who are left working there now, they have been reporting to us that right now, from enforcing our border, it has become to a making the people who come through, it's become a facilitating operation to where we take people coming in, we give them to to people in different organizations who send them all over our country. And quite frankly, we have witnessed that. We have seen people go directly to Dallas, and there will be one English-speaking person escorting 5 or 6 individuals and, telling them, here's where you go, here's what you say, and they've been sending them all over the country. So it has been a really tragic situation, but to what you're saying, we really are witnessing this happening, not just in the military, but in Border Patrol, and we've been witnessing the same thing with our law enforcement and first responders.
Yeah. Look, everything that can be done to weaken and destroy America internally is being done. The Biden administration is effectively working in the interests of communist China right now. And if you look at the border situation, the American communists, like Liberation Road, that's the pro-Chinese Communist Party in this country that gave you Black Lives Matter, for instance.
Right.
That's their creation. That's a Chinese communist operation. They believe that Mexico, the Mexican border, is the key to the American Revolution. And what they mean is this. They see, we've got to understand right now, Mexico has a Marxist president. AMLO, Mr. Obrador, is a Marxist, a former member of the Mexican Communist Party, a collaborator with the Sao Paulo Forum, which was set up by Fidel Castro to spread communism through Latin America. This is the game. The American communists are working with the Mexican political party in power now to keep the borders open as much as possible, to flood not just hundreds of thousands, but millions of people across the border. Some of those will be military, many of them will be cartels, some of them, but they're all potential Democrats. That's the key point. Venezuela had 30 million people a few years ago. It was the richest country in Latin America. A few years of socialism, when they couldn't buy toilet paper or milk powder, drove 20% of the population out of the country. There's now 24 million people left in Venezuela. Well, Mexico has 130 million people. Obrador is going full on Venezuela in Mexico now. He is going to take Mexico down the Venezuela road. So where are 20% of 130 million people going to go to when things get really, really bad in Mexico? We're talking 10, 20, 30 million people coming across the border in the next few years. That's why the communists say the border is the key to the American communist revolution.
That is actually appalling and scary at the same time.
And it's true. It's completely true. And these are pro-Chinese communists doing this. You know, Obrador is working with the Chinese. The Mexican government is working with the Chinese. They see the border as America's Achilles heel. The border is where you destroy America.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned this. So our organization is called Veterans for America First. But I want to be very clear, and if you look at our logo, there's a veteran, there's a first responder, there's a police officer, and there's a firefighter on there. And underneath it says we're a national grassroots veteran and first responder civil liberties organization. And the reason we have structured it this way is because as to where we just started, we're just looking at the veteran community and how they have been sabotaging and dismantling this. We have come to realization through a lot of our brothers and sisters in arms who are first responders. And this happened naturally. It's not something we planned for. But the way this happened is because by one degree of separation, the families of our veterans contain a lot of, first responders in them.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what we have realized is that not only just the veteran community is under attack, it's basically every facet of society that makes America tick. They want to get away with America. And we have witnessed some very interesting things specifically. Is number one, they target our churches. And it's funny because I looked at on one of your videos over there.
Enemies within the church.
Enemies within the church. And it's funny because we noticed that. We noticed that not only are they targeting our first responders, our military, our border patrol agents, trying to weaken our country, as you said, getting ready for a hostile takeover. At the same time, they've been weakening our churches. And it's very funny because I believe it was CIA who some time ago done research that proved that people who are susceptible to brainwashing, right, are the people who do not have strong religious and strong family ties.
Yep.
And them targeting, and they have been targeting the family unit, by the way. It was the entire progressive agenda, okay, was trying to remove fathers from the equation. And that was actually, by the way, done a lot under Bill Clinton, removing fathers from the equation. There was a lot decimating the black community with the whole war on drugs, how it's all started over there, right? But removing fathers from the equation propels decimating family unit, especially within a black community. So they're essentially trying to weaken us from both the church perspective, the family perspective, and all the first responder perspectives. And now one thing that I know, okay, I'm an observant guy. Maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the world, obviously. I'm no Elon Musk, right? But one thing I know, if you notice one inconsistency, that's a problem, right? You notice two or three, that could be a coincidence. But when you notice an inconsistency on every single level, that all have one underlying, how do you say this, one underlying demonstration of what it's gearing towards,
theme,
right?
Yes.
One underlying theme, that's deliberate. And it has to have fingerprints. And a lot of what we have seen leads directly not to just worldwide communists and globalism, but at least directly to the CCP.
Look, absolutely. If you look at America today, the borders are wide open. That's partly through CCP connivance because they have a lot of power in the Congress. The CCP, the Communist Party of China, just attacked America with their COVID. That was a biological weapon, 100%. It was time to bring down Trump. It was time to wreck the economy and to create pressure to reduce the military budget. Those were the three aims of it. And then they used the unions, and the communists used the unions and the politicians they had under their control to keep the lockdowns going as long as they could. And you notice all the states with the harshest lockdowns, like California, Hawaii, Massachusetts, New York, they're all the states with the largest Chinese Communist Party influence.
Right.
So they kept that going to wreck the economy. Then the Communist Chinese Black Lives Matter, that is a Communist Chinese operation run out of the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. They burnt cities all over America. And then they used the energy of those young fired up black kids, those young fired up college kids, those fired up Latinos who believe that Trump was a racist and Republicans are racist and horrible. They then set up, the communist Chinese set up voter registration organizations
Right.
in 7 key swing states. They had Lucha in Arizona. They had Pennsylvania Stands Up in Pennsylvania. They had Detroit Action in Michigan. They had New Georgia Project in Georgia. These are all the key states that decided the election. So they were doing vote fraud, but they're also doing on-the-ground voter registration amongst the black and Latino communities of the inner cities of these key swing states, all organized by pro-Chinese communists, right under our very noses.
That's actually I wouldn't say unbelievable. For me particularly, it is quite believable because I have seen firsthand how these people operate. I mean, you do hear my accent. I was some time ago in Russia. I was born in Russia. I came here quite early. I was 14 years old when I got here. At 18, I joined the U.S. Army, which, by the way, the same story over here was Julio. He joined Army at 18, and he got here about approximately around same age I did.
10 years old.
Yeah, 10 years old. So this is a very interesting correlation here because we are both from ex-communist countries, Cuba and Russia, and now we're seeing a lot of the native population of these countries oppose everything that's communist because they have seen, you know, what it is and where it leads. And one thing in particularly that I have witnessed a lot, because I was there during the fall of the USSR at the time and the fallback of what it looked like, you know, afterwards for a period of time. One thing that I witnessed is a lot of corruption and cronyism, right afterwards. Yeah. And I mean, right preceding to it, there was a lot of it. People knew that what was going to happen, that was going to crumble, but there was a lot of, how do you say this? Snitching is a bad word, but people would tell on each other things. Sometimes it wasn't even true. One thing communists do very well is they hide behind nice words like democracy, sorry, not democracy, like liberty, equilibrium, you know, justice, right? Yeah. And then they end up using people, chewing them out through the system, and then getting rid of them when they're no longer convenient. One thing that we have witnessed in Russia is at first they have pointed at people who they considered enemies, right? And they have liquidated their resources and they have redistributed all of that because, you know, quite frankly, communism is not really good at producing their own stuff.
Not a lot, no.
Right. So they're better at redistributing what other people have. And when they run out of that, one thing they start doing is they start tightening the criteria. They say, hey, you have not contributed as much as your neighbor. What's up with that? So now they're digging into you and finding out how can we take his stuff and redistribute it. And the criteria gets tighter and tighter and tighter as people get more and more poor because they've been redistributing pretty much everything. And that's a repeating story all over.
Well, that's right. You know, the first thing they do is when they took over Cuba, when they took over Russia, they destroyed the middle class.
Right.
Well, what are they doing in America right now?
They're destroying the middle class.
Absolutely destroying the middle class. The small independent farmer, the small independent businessman, the guy, the wage and salary earner who's got a nice house. You know, the price of gas is going through the roof. The health insurance is going through the roof. The middle class is being economically destroyed. And that is the plan for revolution, because a revolution needs a ruling elite and a mass of malleable peasants who will just do what they're damn well told. You know, kids who've been through school, brainwashed into thinking America is a horrible country, and that America got rich ripping off the third world. And so we are being set up for a revolution right now. And, you know, Biden, everything Biden's done to raise gas prices has all been deliberate. He blames it on Putin, and Putin's responsible for this much of that much. But it was all, you know, the first thing that Biden did when took office was to cancel the Keystone Pipeline from Canada. That was because Native Americans had been protesting. Well, the the leader of those protests was Judith LeBlanc of the Communist Party USA, which is a Chinese operation. Judith LeBlanc was then allowed to appoint her good friend, Deb Haaland, a Marxist Congress member from New Mexico, and got her in as Secretary of the Interior, who controls all of the energy extraction on public land in America. That's 20% of it. So they've locked up every bit of that energy extraction. Biden is shutting down leases at the very time we need to be opening up the oil fields. Biden is shutting it down because this benefits our enemies.
Right.
And that was, our Secretary of the Interior was put in place by a Chinese agent, Judith LeBlanc, and the President of the United States. We all know his ties to China. So this is not an accident, people. This is not just some stupid thing that's happening. This is a deliberate policy to weaken the military, to destroy the middle class, and
attack the family units.
And destroy our energy production in this country.
Well, right, and it's actually being, like you said, not done just on purpose and deliberately, but it's also been done in all different facets of society. And that's the one that we
everywhere,
forgot about
everywhere.
is Department of Education. That's been done for a while, you know.
Yeah.
We've been infiltrated there for a long time. One thing that I do find interesting, we haven't talked about, is the social media stuff. Okay.
Right,
The
yeah.
social media, it plays a very, very big role in it because it influences the younger generation and what is appropriate and what is not, right? And then the media, itself is mimicking, basically, is a frenzy. So one thing that just happened 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, we planned a barbecue event where we're gonna, donate, feed the veterans and first responders that would come, to our barbecue. And it was in New Jersey. New Jersey, we get the word that we get to a place that tells us, you can't do that, you're political. And I'm saying, wait a minute. So because our organization is called Veterans for America First, and we're doing a charitable thing to where we're just getting a barbecue and we're all talking together, we're not standing there with a microphone, we're just doing a friendly barbecue. You're telling us that we're being political. So, basically you're telling us that we cannot do that. But here's, on another hand, if this was anything woke, right?
Yeah, look, it's not that it's political, it's that it's conservative.
Right.
That it's patriotic.
So it's
if
becoming
Black Lives
a problem.
Matter was holding a barbecue, there'd be no problem at all. They'd get all the permits they wanted, they'd have the cops there guarding them, whatever.
And this is what I was talking about, was how communism behaves. Early on, they make everybody snitch on each other and they say, oh my God, these people are not appropriate for our culture. You should stay away from them. They're terrible people. Well, you know what? If loving our country makes you a terrible person, then I would like there to be more of you terrible people. And quite frankly, I want every one of you, veterans and first responders, who are fed up with what has been happening, who are fed up with them trying to destroy the best country in the world, I need you to join us, okay? Go on VFAF.org, okay? Sign up for an account. We have a small social media site, okay? And quite frankly, we created one so our people could communicate with each other, veterans and first responders, okay? And I don't care what age you are. You can figure out how to download an app. You can figure out how to go on a website, okay? I need all of you veterans from all different groups. I need my Iraq veterans. I need my Vietnam veterans. I know you're all still out there. I have Julio. This man wakes up. He lives and breathes America first. And if he can do it, you can do it, okay? We have veterans from all facets of society working together, okay? It's time we take our country back, okay? And again, we are wanting to do this through open dialogue and discussion. We're not promoting violence. We're not, advocating for violence. But we need to raise awareness for everything that is happening all across our nation. We need to have veterans and first responders from all different areas and states to unite. Okay, we need to create chapters in every state, in every city. I want to see you guys unite. I came from Russia, and this is my country. This is the best country in the world, and I have nowhere else to go. If we lose freedom here, believe me, we'll lose it everywhere else. Now, to that extent, don't take my word for it. I'm going to let Julio say a couple of things about communism from where he came from.
Well, my father left Cuba in 1961. That was way before any of you were born. I was 10 years old, and as soon as I turned 18, I told my mom, I'm going to Vietnam. And here I am, 60-some years later, still alive, and I'm still kicking ass for the communists. I will continue to do this until the day that I am put 6 feet under, because I don't want my kids to live under communism. It is the worst form of government available. You do not have a mind. They control everything you do. And, I'm married to my second wife. My first wife was the daughter of a Navy SEAL. She passed away like 20-some years ago, and I married this lady from Nicaragua. Her mother and father are communists, and they live in my house. So they have to put up with my ass, all right? Telling them that they're wrong, but I pay the rent there. So, I don't have a problem with my language. I have lived here since I was 10 years old, and I have been an anti-communist. None of my kids are allowed to be involved in politics. I am going to be their voice until I'm gone. So I suggest to all of you that are looking at this channel, by the way, I own this. I never ask anybody for a nickel. Thank God that, through my retirement, I own full retirement pension for all the work that I've done. I have been a mayor of a city that at the time that I took over was governed by a left-wing son of a bitch by the name of Raul Martinez.
Talking about Hialeah,
Hialeah, all right?
Trump country.
It is Trump
The
country.
real Trump country.
And I am the only man in the history of Hialeah, which is going to be 100 years old, that served in the military. No other mayor had the guts to join the military for the United States of America. And I suggest that most of you who are looking at this, join us in protecting the only country that's left, because everything else has gone to hell. So listen to us and help us. We need help. We don't ask for money. We need you to help us and talk to your friends, to your family, everyone that you can talk to about USA and the United States of America's Constitution, that is the only one that's worth a shit in the whole world.
Absolutely. And to that end, please.
Can I just add to that? Like, I haven't served in the US military, but my mum and dad were living in New Zealand in the 1940s when the Japanese army was threatening to invade my country. And if it wasn't for the sacrifice of your fathers and uncles and grandfathers who fought off the Japanese at the battles of Guadalcanal and the Coral Sea and Midway, my country would have been done. I probably would never have been here. So everybody who cares about liberty has to care about America, and everybody who cares about liberty has to care about the US military and US veterans. US veterans have saved us before, and they'll save us again, because they all know that their oath does not, to protect the Constitution, does not end the day they step out of uniform. It's with them for life. So I'm very proud to be here with Vlad, very proud to be here with Julio, and please get involved. We have a very limited time to save this country, and the veterans are going to play a critical role in that.
Well, to that end, to get involved, guys, again, join us at VFAF.org. Sign up for a social media account. I want you guys to check out our ambassadors. Okay, I want you guys to check out the people we have endorsed this year, the America First, the true America First candidates. I want you guys to click on a Get Involved and file for volunteer application. Okay, fill out the ambassador application. We want everybody to get involved. So right now is the time. And as Trevor has said, if we lose freedom here and if we do not act now, we're not going to have a chance to act later. It'll be too late. Okay? So we need to strengthen our country. And that starts with you. You all know who you are. You all know you running your small businesses in the community and thinking this does not involve me. Okay? Just like in the military, we all will get punished for the actions of one. You remember that? When we all had to do push-ups for that one guy? Well, you need to get involved. It is a time. We're all we got. This was something told to me by my first sergeant, Dre Owens, when I first got to Iraq. And it's a funny story. When we first get there, And the moment we step out of C-130, the mortar rounds come in. The moment we step out, and everybody's running to the bunker, and First Sergeant is there trying to get everybody in, saying, come on in, come on in. And as I am crossing to the bunker, I trip, and he catches me, and he says, you all right, soldier? You all right? I'm like, I'm great, First Sergeant. And you know, it's funny because we all look Ninja Turtles. That's what we look like with all the gear in front and in the back, right? So, and he says, slaps me on the shoulder, he says, well, we're all we got, Lemets. Never forget that. We're all we got. So I live by that every day. And I believe we all should. We're all we got. One nation, under God, one
Indivisible.
American family, indivisible.
With
Okay?
liberty and justice for all.
That's right. So, guys, it is an honor to be in the presence of giants like yourselves. Julio, Trevor, you guys, everything that you do will echo in eternity. And thank you for standing side by side with American veterans, Trevor. Thank you for standing side by side with our first responders, because somebody has to talk about it. And it makes such a big difference that people like you who are from other countries looking in at this and saying, hey, there's a problem here. I'm not even from here originally, and I care about this, because if you guys lose freedom here, we lose freedom everywhere.
Absolutely.
So, Trevor, it is an honor. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Vlad. Thanks so much, Julio. Real pleasure to be here.
And these are 60 years old.
Oh my God.
6 years old. Wow.
These are some ancient ones. Look at this. I can barely make out the name anymore. Love it. Well, Veterans for America First, Hialeah Republican Club, we're out.